Welcome to AhHa Moments. My name is Alvin Mehmeti, and I'm joined by my two business partners, Kevin and Hans.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Gentlemen,
Excited.
it's been a minute.
It has.
Episode 7.
Lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7. I think we're, what, now 14 away from being in the 99 percentile?
To being the number one podcast in the globe.
Oh, that's good. I think we are still number one somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, with the amount of transformation that's going around, there'll probably be a different medium by the time we hit that. So,
Yeah.
We'll get there.
okay. I'm excited.
We've been absent for a bit. It's been a busy few months here, but it's been a good busy few months. We were supposed to record this episode at the Museum of Science and Industry,
Yes.
and then we ran out of time because we were kind of. I thought we took too long. That's why.
What were we doing at the museum?
We were launching a new product, which we're going to talk about today shortly, called Turbo AQ. It's a wonderful, wonderful product we've been working on for a long time. But before we get there, Kevin, I know you have a little gripe already this morning.
You know, it's not even so much a gripe. It's, we keep talking about the world of AI, and myself, I'm sure like everyone else, right, is becoming more and more reliant on AI, right? I'm having it help draft emails, help, look up information and do research for me. And the thing I'm getting more concerned about is hallucinations. Right?
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
I'm starting to trust this almost blindly. And I was reading a study the other day, until recently, right?
This is like the issues where you might run into some medical issues, or you might get kind of a bad prescription, or
make a bad investment
Yeah.
decision.
is this what you're talking about?
No. A little easier than that. If you ask it how many R's are in the word strawberry,
Come on.
it completely breaks the model. I guess until
Really?
recently, Claude, ChatGPT, Meta, they were all having the same issue.
They don't know how many R's are in strawberry.
And I had to double check. There are 3 R's in the word strawberry.
Okay. Yes. That's what I would have guessed.
But if you go and ask these models, until recently, it was breaking. You were either getting 2 or 4. It completely broke down the system.
How did you think of this question?
And it doesn't.
I'm asking it like serious questions. Kevin's like, how many R's are in strawberry?
Same issue with raspberries.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a berry issue.
Berry issue.
Not so much blueberries. Those
Okay.
R's are all in the back half of the word.
Oh, I got you.
I think it's where you have R's kind of spaced throughout.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so Barry Bonds would be fine.
He would be fine.
Okay.
I applaud the brilliant mind. It was like, how many R's are in strawberry? And the model was like, I can solve anything except that. You found it.
The limit does not exist.
The limit does not exist. Hans, I know you have some issues with the new Will Smith album.
You know, I feel bad. I feel bad because Will Smith, I grew up, he was kind of my hero. A lot of people like called me Will Smith, which I think used to be a compliment. This is before his slapping days and
I
stuff.
see the similarities.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to, grow up in the inner city, and then I moved to my uncle's house, but no, none of that happened. But man, his music was good. He was a great actor. He's in killer films. In fact, I'll be watching Independence Day this weekend. I imagine just a
great
fantastic
movie.
film.
Yeah.
His new album is pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad, and that's all I'll say. If he can't get people to dance in downtown Paris to his hits, I'll play it for you later, Kev.
It doesn't slap.
It is. And that's why I was here, ladies and gentlemen. That is correct.
That was pretty good, Kev.
That is
That's
correct.
good.
Thank you.
Back to why we're here in the first place. As an organization, we've always embraced newer technologies. Not only embraced, invested in all of them. So recently, we launched a product called Turbo AQ because we think it's going to help us as a company. But before even that, we've been working with AI for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And now that AGI is making more progress and ultimately just the general AI aspect of it, there's a lot of trends out there.
A lot of trends, a lot of talking.
A lot of talking.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that you go to the internet and all you read about is either war or AI and nothing else.
Yep.
Yeah. Couple of things that are going on. It was interesting. OpenAI just had a podcast with Sam Altman, and he even said, Kev, to your point, he's like, he finds it kind of crazy that people just trusted blindly.
Yeah.
Like the models aren't there yet. Like they're great. They're making amazing progress. Not to not to take away from what's been accomplished, but the models aren't truly there yet, right? And to just ask it and believe it, it seems a little nuts even to the folks writing the models.
Yeah. Well, it goes back, I think we mentioned in a previous podcast, maybe a year ago now, but people are looking for comfort.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
100%.
so it's like, oh, if this thing can do something for me, it makes my life easier. Why not just buy into it completely?
the advancements cannot be undermined, right? I mean, they are making great progress. I got to go there recently, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But the advances that they're making are absolutely wonderful. The other thing that was interesting, worth bringing up here, the compute power is getting like crazy out there.
Yeah.
Training these models is not cheap. What they've been able to advance from a chips perspective is just incredible. I think the last thing I saw, I was talking with you guys about this, was the NVL72, which is they put 72 Blackwell GPUs together at NVIDIA, and it can process 130 terabytes of data per second.
130 terabytes
of data per second, which is more than the peak data of the global usage of the internet in the world.
That's amazing. I remember in a previous world, we helped kind of break AWS by putting like 2 petabytes a week in or something, right? When they were first getting started.
And this is like to the next level. The other thing I thought about, and I can't recall who had this quote, but it was when the floppy disk was invented. I want to say it was Steve Ballmer. I don't know that it was. He said this is the most storage we'll ever need, and it was the floppy disk when it came out.
The actual floppy one or the hard floppy?
No,
one?
the hard one. The 1.4 megs per floppy.
Got it. Yeah. Those were good times.
I remember we had one of the first digital cameras as a family growing up. Where you actually put a floppy disk in and take a photo. We went to Europe once, and I'll kid you not, we walked around with a stack of floppy disks about yay high, right, to get about 50 photos, right?
Yeah.
Now that's just a joke. And if you're telling me now 130 terabytes
per second
to
process,
unbelievable.
it's insane.
Well, and the amount of energy required for that. We have clients that are worried about that, right? We were talking about the Texas grid, right? So there's the East Coast grid, the West Coast grid, and then its own electrical grid in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? Of course. But we were told by one of our clients that they're going to have to double the capacity by 2030 just to keep up with the demand from AI.
And I actually think that could be an underestimate of where it's headed.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
And you know what? Building transformers and stuff, not an instantaneous process.
No.
You need to start building now.
There's investment. There's years of investment. Actually, funny you bring that up. I think we are being led to believe that we're making progress towards AGR, which we are. But I do think we're further from there because there's a ton of things that have to come in place. Part of it is infrastructure to have the grid to support it, not just here globally. Part of it is memory. Memory is going to be a big, impactful thing to truly get there because how you remember things decides on how we do. Every one of our experiences is different. If you're going to replicate us, memory matters. And compute in general, I think, has to get there. But we made great progress. I think we're here today to talk about the fact that we as an organization from the beginning have existed under the idea that change and disruption are guaranteed. We are living in the most transformative moment in human history from what's happened over the last, honestly, 10 years, but specifically the last 5 years, right? COVID actually kicked off a bunch of digital transformation efforts that I think it sped up the world where we need it to be. And now with AI, I can't think of a more exciting time generally to live from a technologist perspective than right now.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, right? Because people sit on some sort of part of the continuum, whether it's they're very fearful of the future there or they're very excited.
Yeah.
It's obviously somewhere in the middle. But I mean, I've heard at the one end of fear that we're just going to become pets, right?
And highly doubt that.
And I know who would want to be like my owner at that point, right? Some of my friends' pets are treated really well.
Yeah, it'd be a good life actually. Speaking of fear, it is this world. I saw again another interview with Altman where they're talking. I think Oprah actually said you might be the most potentially dangerous person in the world. And it really took him by surprise, right? Like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to live with fear.
Right.
Anytime a new technology has been invented, we figured it out something. Yes, there will always be bad actors. There have been bad actors with mail. There have been bad actors on the internet. There'll be bad actors in this. But I think
very good point.
I believe in humanity, right? If flight wasn't invented, we wouldn't be traveling all over the world. Right. We wouldn't have created all these new jobs. We wouldn't have created everything that goes around airports and everything else. This will do the same thing in a different way that we can't think of.
Yeah.
You know, when electricity first was invented, hotels that had electricity used to have to put a sign in the room that says, "Don't worry, this is 100% safe." Right? You can sleep in this room.
That's
right?
insane.
And back to your point, AI, I think, is very similar.
Yeah, putting your credit card on an Amazon profile. I mean, we've lived through a few of these things, right? And the interesting thing, too, is just the speed by which this is happening now seems rapid, but we're also in the phase of this where the best people that could utilize AI are also inventing all of it. So they're actually not using it to its full potential, right? So it's only going to accelerate, which will be fun.
100%. Actually, as you say that, so this tool that we'll talk about in a moment, we've been investing on how do we leverage it both for ourselves and our clients for a very long time, right? Change and disruption are guaranteed. Disruption's happening. If we didn't look at ourselves and go, how is this going to change our world? We would be,
You said this tool's name is Turbo AQ.
Yes.
Can you explain what the AQ stands for?
The AQ. It was hard. It's hard to name things, as you know.
Yes.
It's very difficult to name anything that we work on.
You have to make sure the website's available.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The AQ is around adaptability quotient, which is the idea that companies, and there's companies that stand the test of time. There's other ones that don't, right? We've talked about how many have left the S&P 500 over the past 15 years. It's insane. Companies that have IQ, it's extremely important, right? You have to have brilliant people. EQ, it's also important. But AQ is the adaptability quotient around how do you adapt as times are moving, right? And what do you have to sift through the noise. Mm-hmm. If you call anybody today, all they want to talk about is AI. Yet it's I would say less than 2%, maybe 1%. It's actually applicable and in a way that truly matters. The rest is like these chatbots or talking or having fun with it, right?
Yeah.
And the whole idea for us was how do we help organizations leverage what is there today and knowing where it's going to adapt.
Yep.
Both business models, workforce, process, because it impacts everything.
Right.
In fact, this for the first time ever, I think change management is going to see a super spike. And how does this change the world we live in today?
We've talked about that because, and everybody does when they try to soften it, but the human component of AI is so important, right?
Extremely.
The combination of this new technology with understanding that humans are still necessary. So that change management is going to be really important because all these companies have to go through some sort of workforce optimization, right? I won't even use the word downsizing. It might be upsizing at some point, but having people understand how to work in this new environment, we may no longer need the different functional silos that we sit in right now. There may not be a finance department and an ops department and sales and marketing. It might be all tied towards some sort of business outcome.
That's right.
So how do you then set your future workforce up for that while still making sure you're protecting the core? It's difficult.
Right. It is. And similar to what we said earlier, when you look at part of being adaptable is having the foresight to say, I don't know what I don't know, but I assume we're going to get to the other side and we'll figure it out. As opposed to, I don't know what I don't know, so I'm going to say no. Right.
And I think what we're trying to do with this tool, right, is accelerate that process towards change because when you're having to maintain two different platforms, two different systems, two different ways of doing things, that's a very expensive process. Right?
Absolutely. And
hence the turbo.
Hence the turbo part, which is how do we speed up the process? I think, well, it does a couple things, right? The idea of the turbo aspect is the following. One, we want the ability to use it ourselves, to understand either systems or processes in ways we've not been able to before without sitting in a room for 3 months asking people how something works, specifically in code or data. The second aspect is if we want companies to move forward, every company in the world today, big, massive company that's been around for a very long time, runs some super outdated code that was written before the internet.
Yeah.
COBOL.
Excellently run code. Yeah. Greatly written.
Absolutely.
Well, the majority of these large organizations, right? Your banking system today in the United States is still run on COBOL systems, right?
Most of your travel booking
aviation
sites.
Industry is still run on, right? These old school legacy platforms.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many clients I've sat at before where it's a black box in the corner, right? It runs this old school code and people are afraid to touch it because they're not quite sure what's going on inside that application.
And the issue with it to this adaptability aspect is that this code is getting to the point where it's one of the biggest vulnerability for companies from multiple ways. It's a security vulnerability, and we've seen it multiple times. Airplanes have been grounded. Health systems have come to a complete screeching halt, and companies have come to a zero operational moment where they have to pay out ransoms to be able to get their systems back. Two, it has this massive aging workforce that wants to retire. Nobody wants to maintain COBOL RPG and all this code that was written a long time ago.
You can't hire. No one's teaching COBOL code right now in universities. How can you even hire that skill set to come and take care of your systems?
And then the third part is innovation. When you are anchored by these systems, you want to offer the next greatest thing. It has many limitations. Now, it has a lot of positive, hence it's still around, right? It's reliable, it works, it runs very efficiently, but it has a ton of limitations. And the idea for us was, as we go help organizations, we've done this for a long time, but now how do we use the tools to be able to speed up the process on all aspects of it?
Yeah.
And the second one is to even create new. there has never been a better time to continue innovating, because what might have taken sometimes 3 to 6 months to validate, we can do in a week,
Yep.
which is amazing.
What I love about the tool itself too is even if you just use that as a discovery to understand what your old code is doing, all the built-in business logic, all the spider web things that have been put together, even if you have organizations that say, oh, we always document all our code, people were putting in Band-Aids, you never know what's under the covers, and that's why they don't want to touch it. We make it approachable. Here it is. It's laid out. This is what this code does. Here's all the business logic behind it. Here's what it's running. Here's what it's touching.
And for a non-technologist, right? I'm not
Correct.
a coder. I'm not a developer. We've taken a look at some of these applications that we've run through the tool TurboAQ, and it tells you in simple English language, here's what this application's doing. Here's what this module is designed to do. It makes it very, very easy to understand what these monoliths are doing.
What's the? Do you mind if I ask you? Because
Yeah.
I would tell the joke myself, but
Yeah.
I'll give you credit.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain how you've explained this code to our people?
Oh yeah, this is sometimes you have to make things simple. Hans has a son who interns here, is a brilliant AI individual who's helped a ton.
Yeah.
He's actually helped us sell work and stuff. I mean, young kids these days come out brilliant. Like
He's
from
studying.
schools.
He's passionate about it.
He's passionate
I
about
have
it.
no idea
I
what
was
his code is.
explaining to
Right?
Hans the tool, and I said, this tool is meant to take the code that Hans wrote when he came out of college and translate it into a language that his son knows and can understand.
I wanted to be mad, but it's really good. It's a good analogy.
That's funny.
So thank you, Tommy, for helping with that analogy. I was actually reminded, and I want to take this conversation here to the adaptability. But if you recall, we were early to the cloud. We were early to agile. That was like the first wave about 15 years ago of how do we get organizations to move faster. And I remember running around organizations and talking about cloud. This was AWS partnership we had created in the beginning, and people kicking us out of their data centers, going, "You will never touch my data center."
Right.
And then Hurricane Sandy happened, and it took a bunch of businesses out in New York who have their servers in the basements. And then we couldn't answer the phone because there were so many calls to get everyone to the cloud.
Yeah.
I think we are living in that early innovation of people are very excited to play with it, but they're not sure how it's going to impact companies or their jobs. So there's a ton of hesitancy also.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because now that I think about it, the last thing we need is another natural disaster to create the demand for this type of platform. I think about kind of when we started the firm and we were pushing digital transformation. You have to have methods by which you can talk and meet with your customers or your vendors, your partners online. And it was hard. Like you're bumping up against, no, we want to do everything in person. We want to do things in our office. And then COVID hits and everybody understands what we were trying to pitch all of a sudden.
Do you recall we had the tagline, nothing is normal?
Nothing.
Thank you, Laura.
Laura came up with the Nothing is Normal campaign. What was that, fall of 2019?
Fall of 2019. And turns out it was like, nothing is normal.
I'm not going to say she caused COVID, but
Convenient.
but she might have had a foresight of where the world should be headed.
Yeah.
I think what I'm excited for, like I said, and another side note, I just realized the Google founder, Sergey, just went back to work, because if you're actually a computer scientist, this is the holy grail of time to be working in technology. And I think for us, from an enterprise perspective, we couldn't be in a better place to try to leverage these tools. We've been leveraging AI for a very long time.
Yeah.
We did Club Champion, 5 years ago during COVID?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've done a bunch of other AI, but where things are headed, I'm super excited, and I'm excited how we're leaning in, and I'm hoping that we continue to invest in ways, not in chatbots. Chatbots are great. They serve their little purpose, helping enterprises, because it truly can be one of the most amazing things that takes away things you've always wanted to go away.
Yep.
Like, nobody wants to process faxes, yet a ton of faxes still run the world.
Yep.
Well, think of, and I forget the exact stat, right? Something like 60-80% of IT budgets today, right, are spent on just keeping these old legacy systems going.
Running, yeah.
Think about being able to repurpose that budget, right, to innovative things, to driving new revenue streams, right, delighting your customers in new and interesting ways. How exciting is that?
What was interesting, and this was Brad who said this when we were in San Francisco, is part of how we know business models today is just the legacy business model. So if you think about insurance, right, it has its own. We have underwriting, we have marketing, we have sales, and then we have our models to predict it and this and that. And he's like, you can use these tools, obviously, and they want you to use them to make the business more efficient. Whether you do or don't, just know that on these startups, there are 2 kids working on completely turning that model upside down, and they have the tools and they don't need the capital to be able to compete with you, and they're making progress.
Right.
And they're not burdened by old processes.
Nope.
Old code, old ways of doing things.
And I think this is where we lean in.
They're sitting in his or her dorm rooms just coming up with these ideas. Yeah. So let's simplify it even easier for the audience to understand. What does, maybe give me a 30-second commercial on what Turbo IQ does.
It reduces the time to understand and or transform, so write code with agents, by something on the average of 80%. So for example, if you had an antiquated system and you're running a very modern business on top of it, and we had to come help you redo that system so that we can do some new stuff with it, right? Or create efficiency, we might have to sit down with you for 3 months to understand what it does in person. We can do it in 1 week.
So pulling like old code from Cobalt and just putting it onto the cloud, that's kind of expensive, isn't it?
No, it's actually, well, porting it, yes. Porting it is not helpful. So the second part is we can transform it, but you don't want transform Cobalt code running into the cloud on a browser.
Thank you.
It's not very cool.
Good.
Yeah, it completely reimagines it. What's really cool, and it's worth noting, we spin up an agent and the agent looks at the code and explains to you what it's doing. And then it spins up 1 to 2 other agents that are responsible for creating the project and writing modern code. It could be React, it could be whatever language of your choice. Yep. So for COBOL, Python. And it'll spin up these agents. And these agents sit there and start going, okay, I'm going to write this kind of code. I'm being told to create this. And they start writing code. Then we spin up testing agents because hallucination is real, right? Mm-hmm. So it could write really bad code. And we're like, hang on a second. We've input our standards of what enterprise code looks like. And then it says hey, a UI on the internet is different than a UI sitting behind a green screen down in a server room. It reimagines the entire experience.
That's the one that really blows our clients' mind when we can sit there on a phone call and just kind of show them a reimagined green screen. Yeah. But it looks like an app in their modern platform.
It's amazing. And this is where the cloud has actually faltered. And now there's actually a trend of people in-housing some of their application because VMs have made a ton of progress and it's easier to manage them now. Moving old stuff to the cloud. Yeah. It's still old stuff in the cloud and the compute is actually super expensive. Yeah. So the way that you can leverage cloud, and this is not a cloud commercial or not, the way you leverage cloud is if you transform it into a modern thing, it's extremely effective.
You have to optimize it.
Yeah. You have to optimize. You have to truly transform it. So I say we don't translate, we transform, right? Yeah. It's not like taking it line by line and rewriting it. We all know this. As soon as you write some code about any application, as soon as you're done, you'd write it differently in a more efficient way.
That's right.
That's what this does. And it does it with digital agents. Now, you might say, do we need people and do we need Inspire? You do. Because here's the part. You still need brilliant people to sit there and be like, how does this fit in my enterprise organization? Is it all connected together? How does the human experience look? Sometimes it does make some mistakes, but the difference between do I have humans take 3 months to write it or do I have this code take a week to write it and go through for another week to make sure it didn't make a ton of mistakes is huge, right? Yeah,
or even better, understand it.
Understand it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that we talk about too is there's other tools in the market that do similar things, but we have noted that this is the first enterprise-wide tool. Can you explain why ours is enterprise-ready?
Absolutely. I mean, the other tools that exist in the market that can do all of this, they're great. Enterprises have different standards and different criteria.
Yeah. Security.
Security, HIPAA, credit card information, physical privacy, privacy layers in every aspect of the organization. Having coding standards in general, it's extremely important. Our clients aren't launching an application that touches 1,000 people. They're launching an application that touches 100,000 people every day.
Right.
Right? Yep. Even the scale of it and the type of code it needs to generate. The second part of it is that's extremely impressive with it, and AI is really good at it, is data, transforming data. It is absolutely amazing at it because data is not up for interpretation. It's data, right? It's not like reading a book. It is actual numbers and zeros and ones that adds up. So going from an antiquated system to a new system, what a wonderful time to leverage these tools because it makes zero mistakes in that process. I mean, it has to go line by line, right? If things are written down, it's extremely good at it.
Yes.
And it does not have to guess, and it eliminates the human impact of, hey, let's do a mapping, let's create this, let's create that. No, it does it for you. It's amazing.
Love it.
I am excited. I'm curious what you guys think. Does AGI scare you?
I'm excited, right? I mean, I think the reason we're in the business we're in is that we get excited by these types of things, right? We get excited about right, the potential of where things could go. And I see, yes, it's going to, to your point, there's going to be a lot of change management around this, right? There's going to be some hurdles, but I think by and large, what we're going to be able to do as a society and not only a business community with all these tools is really, really exciting.
Yeah, I was with a very good client of ours last week, and unbelievable CFO. She's very business minded, and we were having this exact conversation. She said her grandpa always used to say, "Saddles to planes," and she's like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "In my lifetime, I've lived where we had horses and buggies to where I could get on a plane and travel somewhere. That's how much things have changed in my lifetime. Can you imagine what's going to happen in yours?" And the last thing you want to do is be fearful going into that. That doesn't mean being Pollyannish, but I always want to be optimistic, because what you do with fear is you become protectionist in your behaviors, which isn't going to lead to better results. So why not embrace what's coming down with this technology, get excited about the good things, and make it a positive experience? Like let's go be those agents that make it positive, as opposed to letting the fear mongers win. Right?
I love that.
I even where it is today, I'm beyond excited for it, and but let's make some predictions here. Even where it is today, and what people have been able to do, whether it is cure cancer, which they are using it for models to help cure cancer, or blindness, or deafness, or all this stuff, I can't help but get excited for it. I think I did see this quote from Jensen that in the next wave, right, there's going to be all the physical AI that's coming. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that they're actually, most of the physical products eventually you'll make them digitally first and test them in a digital world so you don't hurt people, right? You can actually design a car to very specific things and then have the car drive around in the digital twin of the world and see what the issues with it are going to be, because the models will get that good, which I think is extremely positive. And I think physical AI will truly transform some stuff. I do think I thought it would be maybe 1 to 2. My guess is maybe 2 to 4, if not 5 years from AGI truly. Not that models aren't going to get better. They're going to get really good. I do think that all the companies, though, that are investing in it have this balance of, we need to make money because they got to keep funding it. Mm-hmm. And that comes in enterprises. But then it's like continue investing and getting AGI. Interesting fun fact, Kevin.
Please.
It's usually Kevin with the fun facts.
First time in history of SaaS companies. So think of Salesforce and others that sell products to companies from a SaaS perspective.
Yeah.
There was a reduction in enterprises renewing their licensing with them.
Interesting.
And here's why. The thought is, why would you continue renewing that when AI is making advances to where creating a 5-year roadmap and committing to any one of these big things where it all might be able to be done by agents soon, which is one of the biggest investments that's being made? It makes no sense.
That's a great point.
Right?
Yeah, those SaaS companies better hike up their AQ.
And they're talking about it, right? They're investing in it too. But the interesting about agents is they don't need UI. If you Salesforce, and I'm picking on Salesforce, all of these, JDI, pick any SaaS company that sells product. What you pay for is usually the front end.
A beautiful way to access your data.
To access the data.
Right.
Agents don't need UIs. They just go access data.
Give me my data how I want it.
And I'll work with it. And I think if I'm an organization, this is one piece of advice, and I saw somebody recently, we were meeting with them, client of ours, like we're considering a 7-year transformation to bring 10 ERPs together. Yeah. I was like, I wouldn't do that. Because in 7 years, I think you're going to have a different company.
Yeah, no, this is the fun though. This is why a product like this needs to exist, because again, we'll help accelerate those decisions and help people see that maybe there's a different future out there instead of repeating the same.
I'm excited. I want to make some more predictions next time and see how the world's progressing, but it's good to be back to the podcast. I think we'll do another one here shortly. Not sure what the topic will be, but I think we have some good stuff coming up.
I'm very excited. I want to, again, thank our audience in the Balkans, still number one in Kosovo.
We're number one in Kosovo.
Number one in Kosovo. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say they're the number one podcast and whatever they're talking about, so I figure we can just say something, right?
Don't fact check us.
Yeah,
right?
please don't. Don't
That's
use AI because it's probably hallucinating if it doesn't say we're not number one.
That's right.
And we're going to make sure we keep telling AI that we are number one so it can learn number one. It'll be absolutely great.
There's 3 R's in strawberries, and AhHa Moments is number one in Kosovo.
I love it.
I think we're about to have a ton of aha moments in the next few years here.
Please follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify.
Smash
Watch on
that
the
like
YouTube
button.
channel. Smash the like button. If 5 stars, 5 stars.
That's right.
And if you don't like it, just don't rate it.
You can have your money back. This is a free medium, you know? So thank you, everybody. Looking forward to hanging out on the next one.
Take care.
Thank you.